Hi, and welcome back. Part 2 of this presentation will cover the basic components of the strong interest inventory and help to explain or interpret your results. You should have your results in front of you while you're listening to this presentation, and I will ask that you stay on the page I'm describing and do your best to resist the urge to flip ahead. Feel free to pause this recording when you need to in order to review your results further. I will give you prompts as to when you might want to do this. We use the Strong in our career planning classes to provide valuable and helpful information that will hopefully assist you in this process of making meaningful decisions around choosing courses of study and possible career paths. The Strong has been designed specifically to help individuals who are in this process. Before we get started, let's have a quick refresher on a couple of points. Remember that the Strong is a measure of your interests only, not your abilities, needs, skills, values, etc., although these are areas that need to be considered in your career development process, of course. Also, the Strong is not a crystal ball. It can't tell you what to do. It can only give you information for you to consider and to help you make informed decisions. The information on your Strong is designed to move from general concepts, which would include the general occupation themes and the basic interest scales, to the more specific, which are your occupational scales. And then we go back to a broader view and look at your personal style scales. You may find that some parts of the Strong are more meaningful to you than others. This is okay. Focus on the parts of the assessment that you feel will help you the most. Now this is a 14-page report, so today I will only go over the basics to get you started. Okay, open your report and turn to page 2. This page will give you some good information about the Strong, including how you may benefit from your results and how your results are organized. Please look at the top right corner. You should see your name, a letter M or F, and the date you took the assessment. What do you think the M and the F stand for? If you guessed male and female, you're correct. If you guessed mother and father, well, you're wrong. All kidding aside, though, why do you think this is important? It has been found that men and women generally will respond differently in certain areas. And for that reason, you will find that your general occupational themes, your basic interest scales, and the occupational scales are all based on comparisons with your gender in the normative group. Therefore, your results are more tailored towards your gender. All right, turn to page 3 of your Strong. Here, you will find your general occupational themes. You know that because the title of this section is in blue at the top left side of the page. And if you notice on my presentation, it does say page 2, even though yours says page 3. Don't worry about that. You're on page 3. I have a slightly older version that I'm working from in this presentation. Okay, you will notice that the 6 Holland interest areas are listed in the middle of this page. They are in rank order based on how you answered the questions, with your highest interest areas at the top of the list and your lowest at the bottom. The general occupational themes should provide you with a global view of your interests and give you clues to possible work environments. You should be able to say that you like these areas as they should highlight some of your favorite interests. You should view these interest areas as general constructs with room to accommodate your own personal individual preferences. Also, there is a good chance that your interests are not categorized into only one area. If you look about 2/3 of the way down the page, you will see a blue oblong box that says your highest themes, and to the right it says your theme code. Many people will score into 2 or 3 interest areas. That is what makes your theme code. So if you notice on my example, there are 3 letters that make up Jane Sample's theme code, A, I, and S. That means her strong interest general occupational scales are artistic, investigative, and social. Okay, so how many do you have? Do you have one letter here? Do you have two? Or do you have three? Hopefully, if you have a combination, you will feel that this area describes your interests a little bit more thoroughly. Okay, towards the bottom of the page, you will see some bar graphs. These bar graphs represent your standard score in each of the 6 areas. Your standard score is a comparison of your score to all the men and women in the norm group. You will see also inside each bar graph some words. These are your level indicators and shows how you compare to the norm group of your gender more specifically. These general occupational scales will hopefully help you start to answer big questions like, who am I? Where do I want to spend my working hours? And why do I want to do that type of work? If you're interested in looking at these results a little bit longer, you might want to pause the presentation here. Okay, when you're ready, turn to page 4 of your report. Here are your basic interest scales. Again, you know this because the title of this section is in blue at the top left-hand side of the page. The basic interest scales break the general occupational themes that we just looked at down into specific areas of interest that can be directly related to fields of study, careers, and leisure activities. You will notice that the basic interest scales are also organized by their Holland interest areas. Your results on this page are based on your gender. In the blue box towards the top of the page, you will find your top 5 interest areas. So what do you see? Do you see career fields that you've been considering? We consider that to be verification or confirmation that you're heading in the right direction. Do you see any surprises? Oftentimes people do. You may see a career field on here that you've never considered. If so, maybe you could do some career research on that in our next lesson. Maybe you see a career field on here that you've already done. This might be highlighting that there are aspects of a former career that you had that you still like, even though you're wanting to move in a new direction. Now, what about the areas of least interest, just to the right of your top 5 basic interest scales? Any surprises there? I find that this section is usually spot on for students. Okay, take a look at all of the scales on the page. If you have an H or a VH, meaning high or very high, in any of the bar graphs, I would consider those interest areas if I were you, even if they did not make your top 5. The basic interest scales might help you begin to answer the big question of, what do I want to do? Feel free to pause the presentation here to reflect further on your basic interest scale results. And when you're ready, turn to page 5. Now on page 5 here, you will see your occupational scales. There are 130 occupations represented on the Strong, and each is normed for your gender. On this page, you'll see your top 10. Now, the occupational scales are calculated a little differently than the other 2 scales we just looked at. The calculations of your occupational scales include looking at both your interests and your disinterests, or the responses of dislike, so those areas on the assessment where you said you didn't like something. Taking both ends of the scale into consideration, the Strong measures how similar your answers were to the answers of actual adult workers in each occupation. In other words, your interests are similar to people in these occupations if she or he likes and dislikes the same things as you. That's pretty cool. It's important to note here that the Strong is not telling you that you should do these careers. I don't want you to say, the Strong said I should be a veterinarian. Nope, the Strong is highlighting careers that might be a good fit for you based on how you answered the questions. Now I'm going to ask you the same question that I just asked you on the basic interest scales. What do you see? Do you see specific occupations listed here that you've been considering? Again, if you do, we call that verification or confirmation that you're on the right track, you're heading in the right direction. Do you see any surprises? Again, oftentimes people do. You may see an occupation on here that you've never considered, or maybe that you've never even heard of. If so, this might be a good occupation to do some research on when we get to that in our next lesson. Again, maybe you'll see an occupation on here that you've already done. This might be, again, highlighting that there are aspects of that former career that you still like, even though for various reasons you're wanting to move in a new direction. As usual, feel free to pause the presentation here to read over your results a little more thoroughly. When you're ready to move on, I'm going to have you look at pages 6, 7, and 8. On these 3 pages, you will see all of the 130 occupations represented on the Strong. Take a look at these. Oops, I have a cat on the table. Hold on. Normally it's okay, but she's about to knock something over. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, so you're going to see on these next 3 pages all of the 130 occupations represented on the Strong, and now she's walking on plastic. Take a look at these. Note that towards the top right-hand side of the page of each of these pages, you will see text that says, similar results 40 and above. You share interests with either men or women, depending on gender in that occupation, and probably would enjoy the work. So this is interesting. I think it is worth considering every occupation in which you scored over 40. That means you need to go down on all of these 3 pages, you need to go down that standard score list and highlight all the careers where you have a score of 40 or above. I think you're going to find that your top 10 list just grew, and this could be a good thing. That just means more options for you. Okay, if you want to ponder these 3 pages a little bit more, pause the presentation here. And when you're ready, I am going to have you turn to page 9. There's my page 9. On page 9, you'll find your personal style scales. We're moving away from the specifics and back to more general information that will hopefully help you further refine your results and answers to the questions of what do I want to do and where do I want to do it. The first scale you will see is your work style scale. This scale describes your preference for working with people versus working with ideas, data, and things. If you're working more with ideas, data, and things, you will probably be doing work that involves more of you working alone as opposed to working with a lot of people. The next scale is the learning environment scale, which identifies features of an environment that would be most conducive to you learning a new skill. If the little orange diamond is closer to the left, that may indicate that you learn best when you have the opportunity for hands-on learning experiences. If the diamond is more towards the right, that may indicate that you prefer to learn through listening and reading, kind of like a more traditional academic style. The third style is the leadership scale, which describes a person's preferred style for directing, leading, and persuading others. If the diamond is more towards the left-hand side, that may mean that you are more comfortable leading by example and that you hope your example will serve to persuade others to follow. You may not be as comfortable as others when it comes to leading and directing, at this point in time anyway. Now, if the diamond is more towards the right, it may mean that you are more comfortable taking charge of situations and people and persuading others to work towards a goal. The risk-taking scale is next and differentiates people who like to take risks from those who prefer to play it safe. Do you have any ideas about why the assessment would measure comfort with risk? If you think about it, there are careers that require a certain level of comfort with risk. Some occupations may endanger a person's well-being physically, think police work and firefighting, or some occupations may require people to take more emotional risks, financial risks, or might be more stressful. Think stockbroker, working on commission, opening up your own business, etc. Now, if your diamond is more towards the left, you may describe yourself as more cautious. Hopefully you're all conscious. Whereas those of you whose diamond is more towards the right might enjoy activities that create an adrenaline rush. Finally, the very last scale on here is your team orientation scale. This scale distinguishes people who prefer to work independently from those who prefer to work as part of a team. Now, don't get this mixed up with the first scale that we looked at, which is your work style scale. That one just is focused more on where do you want to focus your energy on work. Do you want to work with people, or do you want to work more with data, things, and ideas? Okay, and this last scale here is really looking at collaboration and teamwork versus wanting to work more in a solitary fashion. Okay, that was a lot of information. I went over that pretty quickly on this page. Do you need to pause here? If so, now is the time to do it. When you're ready to move on, turn your report to page 10. On page 10, you're going to find a summary of all of your main results. Take some time to look at this page and see if you can determine or notice any themes or patterns that you have developed or that have developed for you throughout this assessment. How might these results, these themes or patterns, help you in your career discovery process? Take some time here if needed and pause the presentation. Now, when you're ready, turn to page 11. Page 10 was the end of the official strong, and so pages 11, 12, 13, and 14 make up your college profile. On these next few pages, you will see how the results of your strong may be applied in the college setting. For example, page 11 gives you an idea of typical college majors as they fit with your general occupational themes. Page 12 gives you some ideas about campus organizations and activities, internships and job settings, and college courses that you may be interested in based on your basic interest scales. Page 13 will orient you to the educational requirements of your top 10 careers on the occupational scales. And finally, on page 14 gives you a little bit of information on how you can use your personal style scales and preferences in the college classroom. These are, of course, based on your personal style scales results. And that's the page we just looked at with the little diamonds going back and forth. Okay, so 14 pages, the strong interest inventory. There's a lot of information that we just covered pretty quickly. Take some time over the next couple of days to go back and read and review all of your results. When you are ready, jump back into the lesson and complete the assignment or activities that are based on your strong interest inventory results. I hope you found the results of your strong to be useful. If you have any questions about your results, don't hesitate to call me. Check the syllabus for my office hours, and I'd be more than happy to go over any specific questions with you individually. That's it for now. Have fun reviewing your results, and please remember to contact me if you have any questions.